Yeah. Sit there for me.
Yeah, what's going on?
Right, so the search warrant. At the moment in time, you're under arrest for concern and supply of Class A. You do not have to say anything but may harm your defence if you do not mention the wrong question, something which you may to rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence.
Yesterday I did a story on a woman from Bradford who used her kids to smuggle in nearly £15 million of drugs from Cancun, and today we've got another one, and it's about a granny, a gangster granny. The pensioner crime boss who ran an £80 million coke empire with her children, grandchildren and a little cat. So from the outside, Deborah Mason appeared to be an ordinary grandmother from North London, living in a normal home, and the 65-year-old pensioner maintained the appearance of a family matriarch, doting on her children and grandchildren whilst claiming more than £50,000 a year on government benefits. But beneath the veneer of domestic normality lay a calculated and cold-blooded criminal mastermind. This week, Deborah Mason, dubbed Gangster Debs, was sentenced to 20 years in prison after being unmasked as the ringleader of one of the UK's most audacious drug trafficking operations even El Chapo would have been proud of. A sprawling family-run enterprise that moved nearly a tonne of high-purity coke across Britain's major cities and made more than £80 million in the process. She wasn't just the participant, she was the Queen Pinto, known to her inner circle as Gangster Granny, Gangster Debs and Queen Bee. Mason revelled in her criminal persona, even instructing her children and their partners to refer to her using those nicknames that reinforced her dominance over the empire she'd built from behind the curtains of her family loyalty and fear. According to prosecutors, Mason constructed a multi-generational crime syndicate, recruiting her sister, 4 of her kids, their partners and even friends to serve as couriers, handlers and facilitators. At the peak of his operations, the gang was transporting industrial quantities of coke hidden in everyday packaging, delivered under the guise of innocent family outings, with toddlers strapped into car seats next to bricks of drugs worth tens of thousands of pounds. Gangster Granny's drug operation was as ruthless as it was calculated. She personally oversaw shipments collected from key UK ports such as Harwich in Essex before dividing the bulk consignments into smaller loads concealed in supermarket carrier bags and luxury designer handbags. These were then delivered via her trusted lieutenants, her own flesh and blood, to distribution points in Bristol, Birmingham, Cardiff, London, Leicester, Sheffield, Rotherham and Bradford. Each family courier was paid £1,000 per run. The trips were frequent, and police believe at least 20 major deliveries were made under Mason's direction in just 8 months. The prosecutor, Charlotte Mole, told Woolwich Crown Court that Mason even used her grandchildren, bringing children as young as 2 years old on drugs runs. The toddlers would sit quietly in the back of the car, watching their iPads in their booster seats, unaware they were surrounded by cardboard boxes containing 5-kilo blocks of high-grade coke, tightly wrapped and destined for street dealers. The prosecutor said it was a perverse corruption of family values. Instead of protecting her children and grandchildren, she used them as shields, pawns in a calculated game to build and maintain her huge drug empire. So Gangster Granny lived a life of luxury and lies. The profits from the empire were funneled into a life of sheer indulgence. The cash was rolling in. She didn't even know what to do half of it. Times she was spending it on lavish holidays to Dubai and Bahrain. She was filling a wardrobe with designer labels. And she even pampered her beloved cat with luxury items included a £400 Gucci collar and lead, complete with a 9-carat gold name tag. She had also spent nearly £90,000 of her drug money on cosmetic surgery in Turkey, part of a full lifestyle overhaul to match a criminal persona. Yet when police finally stormed her North London home, she wasn't found lounging in designer loungewear or managing logistics. Officers discovered the self-proclaimed queenpin in humiliating contrast, sitting silently on the toilet in her nightie, frozen in disbelief as they closed in. Sitting silently on the shitter in her nightie, frozen in disbelief as they closed in. So Mason's control over her family extended to chilling lengths. Her son, Reggie Bright, was not just involved in the operation, but he was a tragic figure caught in a grip of addiction. Despite suffering a brain injury caused by a coke overdose, Mason still enlisted him to carry out deliveries. The court heard that Mason withheld a portion of her children's wages, enforcing a hierarchy of control that left her own damaged son dependent on her. Each family member had their role, and Mason ensured loyalty through a toxic blend of affection, fear, and financial dependence. Her daughters, Roseanne Mason, Demi Bright, and Lily Bright, all acted as couriers and organising. Reggie's partner, Demi Kendall, and a family friend, Anita, were also roped in, and even her elder sister, Tina, took part in the scheme. When their homes were raided, police uncovered bags of coke stashed inside high-end handbags, including designer Chloe bags alongside bundles of neatly stacked cash. Some members of the group attempted to explain the suspicious road trips by blaming their toddlers, claiming the destinations were randomly selected by children playing with sat-navs. But the investigators, they weren't fooled. The Met Police spent months building a detailed case using surveillance, digital evidence, and extensive financial analysis to dismantle Mason's empire. Detectives followed her movements closely, watching as she left her home before dawn, travelling to ports like Harwich to collect shipments, then defied drugs and assigned her couriers. They traced her encrypted communications, reviewed thousands of digital messages, and documented an organised pattern of evidence that demonstrated the gang's efforts to cover their tracks. But the cover-up only helped prove how deeply each person was involved. One of the Met Police detectives said this was a sophisticated, high-value criminal enterprise that thrived on the blind loyalty Mason commanded over her family. The wealth, the holidays, the designer items, all of it was funded by drug sales that destroy communities and fuel violence. They didn't think we were watching. They were wrong. So after an 11-week trial at Woolwich Crown Court, the entire gang was convicted of conspiracy to supply Class A drugs, and on sentencing day, Judge Philip Shoddock addressed Mason. He said, "As a mother, you should have been setting an example to your children, not corrupting them. You were the leader. This was your enterprise." So the sentencings, they are as follows, and they did get some big sentences. So Deborah Mason, Gangster Granny, she got 20 years. And then you've got another one, you got Roseanne Mason and Demi Bright. They were each sentenced to 11 years, I believe that's Deborah's daughters, Gangster Granny's daughters. Then you got Lily Bright, she got 13 years again. She's another daughter. Then you got Reggie Bright, who's the son. He got 15 years. Then you got Demi Kendall, who's believed to be Reggie's partner, got 13 and a half years. And then you got Anita Slaughter, who's a family friend, who got 13 years. And then you got Tina Golding, who's Gangster Granny's sister. She got 10 years. So in total, the group received 106 years and 6 months behind bars. Robert Hutchinson, the specialist prosecutor at the Crown Prosecution Service, called the case extraordinary. He said this was no ordinary family. Deborah Mason didn't nurture and protect her children. She led them into serious organised crime. She corrupted the very concept of family to build an empire of exploitation. Their communications, their movements, their finances, it was all carefully constructed, but we left no stone unturned. As Gangster Granny, Gangster Debs, Queen Bee begins her prison sentence, the empire she so meticulously constructed was collapsed, and her legacy is not of wealth or power, but of betrayal, addiction, and intergenerational ruin. Absolute madness, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below with regards to this story. Wow. It's your boy GT. Keep it locked, keep it real.